Hello. This is a couple people now have asked me to do a tutorial for Mega in Mega Man powered up Damageless runs. Mega is infamous for his short range, which makes it hard for him to hit an enemy and then get away in time. It's kind of hard to know exactly what to talk about because I don't have any footage from anyone else showing me where they're going wrong or whatnot. So I can't really tailor my advice to what anyone specific is doing. It's mainly just about taking the shotgun approach and trying to hit as many things as possible. Anything I can think of that's Mega specific to talk about. Broadly speaking, I would say that the issues that someone might have would fall into one of two categories. The first would be precision issues, and the second would be strategic issues. Precision issues are the ones I'm going to go over first. So, this is just an easy big eye, but imagine this is something else. We're having a tricky fight, doing a lot of dodging, having to weave in and out and hit things. So most of the time you'll hit it, and it'll be fine, but some of the time you'll be just a little bit too far away. So you're like, I missed by a little bit, and then you'll be tempted to get a little bit closer to remedy that. And then maybe 2% of the time, whoops, I got a little bit too close and I just smacked straight into it. Even if that happens like 2% of the time, that's not good for your consistency because you're going to be kicking how many things over the course of the level? A lot, right? This is going to ruin copy robot runs, it's going to make the stages take a lot longer. You don't want to be missing your attacks 2% of the time and slamming into the enemy. So, I mean, the main thing I could say is just practice. Obviously, that'll help. It's also not very useful for a tutorial. You already know what practice is. So I'm going to try to provide some advice that's a little bit more actionable and immediate. So first off, what I would say is don't kick when you're on the ground most of the time. See, I'm just mashing the kick button and see how long it takes for me to be able to move again after I kick? It's a long time. But if I jump like this, I can just keep kicking and moving. And I have full mobility, I can turn around as well. And I can also kick a little bit faster. Like, if you look at this is just a little bit faster than a standard kick. It's not really that important, but it's a nice thing to keep in mind. You can also do something like this, where you kick just before you hit the ground, and it just gets cut off, like there's no ending leg, or anything like that. And finally, and most importantly, for sure, you can do something like this. So see what I'm doing here? You can kick out in front of you and retreat from the enemy at the same time. And I think that's very important. So what you typically want to do, instead of what I was doing earlier, you want to get in, and jump kick the enemy, and then back off. The idea is that you'll enter its hitbox, because you're moving forward. The kick lasts for a little bit of time, so you'll enter its hitbox because you're moving forward, and then you'll move away. So I'm not really getting that close to this big eye. I'm pretty far away and I'm still kicking it. So that's the most important thing first off. But there's a couple more things I want to show. So the first thing I want to show is that it makes sense to play defensively most of the time. So these helicopter guys, I forget their names, they move pretty fast. And if you move forward and you try to kick them, your window to kick them is half as big because you're moving towards them and they're moving towards you at the same time. So something you can do instead is just stand right here and just spam the kick button. That thing's never going to get through that. So I screwed that up or whatever. So you can do the same thing with this one and just should have been following my own advice earlier. And it'll just run into your kick. But if they're moving towards you fast enough, that's where this motion comes in, because you can kick it and move away. It's a little bit harder than just sitting here and mashing the kick button, but if you're doing this and it's moving towards you really fast, you've got a lot more time to get away. So that's the first and most important thing. Duckswung the Albatross was also asking about the frame data and the hitboxes. I know that's a bit of a joke. can't speak much to the frame data, except that it doesn't really matter that much if you're kicking when you're in the air anyway. But as far as the hitboxes go, pay attention to that orange glowy thing that comes out of Mega's foot. The semicircular one. That's about the extent of your hitbox. It's not perfectly accurate. The hitbox is actually a little bit more forgiving than that. So if I inch a bit closer to the block, you can see exactly when I start to actually connect with it. So that's Mega's hitbox. It's a few of those big blocky pixels wide, and it extends a little bit farther from the glow in all three directions, so up, left, and down. So, despite that, I would still say when you're trying to kick something, try to position it at the edge of the glow. That's where you should aim to kick it, rather than trying to stretch out to the exact extent of his hitbox. But you have a lot more room than it looks like at first glance. The hitbox extending upwards is also helpful. Like, imagine there's one of those red square guys, the octopus batteries, and imagine it was like perfectly in line with the top half of that guts block. You can hit it here. It doesn't look like it, but you can hit it. So that's handy, but it's also probably pretty obvious, I guess. Finally, there's the hitbox in the bottom direction. You don't really want to use that one. It doesn't really make any sense because you're generally going to be falling onto an enemy pretty fast if you try to use the kick underneath yourself. So it's only good for desperate maneuvers or one specific scenario that I'll get to later. But you can still do it. So let me try to pull it off on this guy. Didn't work. I don't know if that worked because I had iframes. But let's see if I can get it just once. Demo. See, like that. It can work, but it's just too risky. You almost never need to do that, and you almost never want to do it either. So, last thing to mention is, like I said, practice is important, but it makes sense to think about how you want to practice. So let's just skip over to the CPU boss. This is hard CPU. I know CPU is erroneous, that's not what it's called, but whatever, it's what I've gotten used to calling it, so I'm just going to keep doing that. This boss, I think, is the best place to practice. First thing I'd say is, don't be too proud to put a save state before the fight to practice, because it's just going to speed things up a lot. You're not really proving anything by doing the practice without save states. Like, just do the practice with save states. It'll be more fun, faster, and less frustrating. On top of that, the reason why I pick CPU in particular is just because, I mean, it's got all the traits you want. It moves towards you, it moves pretty fast, it moves at different speeds depending on what your phase you're in, and it's a real fight. Like, you need to think about what it's doing. What I'd say, though, is just focus on trying to kick it and get away. Like, don't worry too much about if you mess up its pattern and get trapped into an unwinnable scenario, or if you get hit by the laser or something. Just try to kick it and get away without taking damage. So you'll see it'll come back down, and then it'll drop some more blocks. We gotta wait for this. So here comes the green phase, and this one's moving a little bit faster, so you get to practice with a slightly faster enemy. And even though it's not very variable what it's going to do, I still think that if you're just trying to practice precision, like, this is probably the best way to go about it. And like I said, if you fail to dodge the laser, whatever. If you get trapped, whatever. Just, if you try to kick at it and you miss, try to think about what you're doing wrong, and try to get a better feel for Mega's movements. See, like that? That was a mistake. But yeah, I would say just practice this for 20 minutes. I'm gonna get hit here. This is impossible to avoid. So you can do something like that, and that looks pretty neat and whatever, but... So that's all I really have to say about dealing with precision issues, but there are other types of issues you can have. So let's move over to this fight. This is just easy Iceman, and there's something very specific I want to demo here, because Mega's range doesn't just make it difficult to physically hit something and then get away. It also limits your options for how to attack something. So in terms of easy Iceman, there's something very specific I want to demo here. So let me just try to get it to happen. So see that. I went in to kick him, and I attacked at the wrong time, and he shot an ice blast straight into my face. So you might be thinking like, okay, but that's just a problem with Mega's range, because nobody else would have that problem. Even if you were playing with Fireman, Iceman is strong against Fireman, he only does 1 damage, but you can just sit at the back and spam shots until he's dead. Like, that is a problem that stems from Mega's range, but it also stems from lack of knowledge of the boss, if you really think about it, because really, in my opinion, all the short range does most of the time is it makes the bosses less forgiving. It means that you have to learn how to dodge a couple things you wouldn't normally have to, and it means that you have to know the boss inside and out in order to defeat it. In this case, what should we have done instead? Well, let's just kick him here. So the idea here is that you only want to kick him when he's moving towards you, because if he's skating towards you, he can't fire any shots. So just let him fire twice, which is normally how long he'll fire before he skates towards you. Sometimes he'll only fire once, and just be prepared for that. And that's really all you have to do to be able to beat easy Iceman consistently. Mega's range doesn't really cause any problems here once you know how to deal with it. It's just that you need to know a little bit more about the boss than the other characters, because Mega isn't able to defeat Iceman in the same way that the other characters are able to. So if you're looking to practice, if you think you're having strategic issues and you're looking to practice a specific boss, I mean, first off, practicing the specific boss is more important than practicing more with Mega. You just need to learn more about the boss itself, but what I'd say is practice with roll first. Like, don't just practice until you defeat the boss a couple times without damage. Practice until you feel like you've really mastered the boss, until you know exactly how to defeat it every time without damage. Or, if not every time, close for some of the harder bosses. There's some bosses like CPU and Wily on hard mode that you're probably not going to get like a 50% success rate with, but basically any other boss you should be aiming for 50% or more with roll, I would say. And then once you've gotten to that point, you can move on to Mega, and that just helps separate the precision issues from the strategic issues, because with roll you don't struggle to hit things. You just struggle because her range limits you. So once you figure out how to deal with her range limiting you, you can move on to Mega, and then you can combine the precision practice and the strategic practice and defeat the boss, hopefully. There's one more thing I should mention. There's one very specific obstacle that Mega has a lot of problems with, and that's this one here in Fireman stage. So the issue here is that it's hard to kick these screws. It's like you're gonna just fall down the hole if you stand where you want to. This is the one case where you actually do need to kick an enemy from above while you're falling on top of them. So on normal mode, you can do this. You can inch to the edge just by tapping the buttons. So if you're not aware, you can just tap the button, and it's very easy to move just a tiny bit. So if you move right next to the edge, you can just wait for an opening and then just press right, jump, and kick at the same time, and you'll usually get it. So there we go. The first screw is dead. It takes a while to line yourself up, so I'm not sure how viable this is for hard mode. I actually never practiced with this strategy on hard mode, so I'm not sure. But you can try it, see if you like it better than the double screw kick from on top. But let's reset, pretend we're on hard mode, and we've got the screw here. what you're going to want to pay attention to for the visual cue is just that trapezoid thing in the background. So see that nondescript machine with the glowy light coming out the top? That's what you need to look at. You can probably see that there's a very harsh divide between the glowy light and the trapezoid. There's like a line there. That's about where you want to kick. A little bit earlier than that, perhaps. But that's really where you should aim for. So I think that was a little bit too early. So it looks like that. There's not too much else to say about that obstacle, but it is difficult. And it's even harder in hard mode because the homing bullets really cause problems, and you actually can't stand safely on this platform. The screw will shoot you on hard mode. The reason for that, if you're curious, when that thing pops out, it shoots faster. So it actually shoots the first bullet before it fully extends to the top of its full height. So the first shot gets fired just a tiny bit lower than the second shot or the normal mode shots. So it'll actually hit you when you're on this platform. So both that and the bullet make this very challenging on hard. I would say that this obstacle with Mega on hard mode, excluding bosses, this is the hardest part of the entire game. So no shame for having issues here, and this is another one you definitely want to practice with save states. So that's really all I have to say about that. See you around.